The 2022 World Cup is about to start, so you know what that means. It's time for my group stage Matchday 1 predictions. And trust me, there's gonna be a lot of upsets in this video. Why? Because I am bold like that. Anyways, let's start off with the first game, which is Qatar versus Ecuador. Now, Qatar is obviously the host nation of this World Cup, and host nations tend to overperform at this tournament. And also, additionally, Qatar isn't even a bad team. Since they got the winning bid all the way back in 2010, there's been a lot of focus on growing football in the country. With this, they went on to win the Asian Cup in 2019, which is Asia's biggest competition. So Qatar isn't just some easy country that all the teams in this group can just walk over. Now, Ecuador also have a very good team, don't get me wrong. They got a great crop of young talents like Hincapi from Leverkusen, Plata from Valladolid, and of course, Moises Caicedo from Brighton. They also gained automatic qualification from CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, which is an extremely difficult region to qualify for the World Cup from. So who's gonna win this game? Well, I'm starting off with an upset, and I got Qatar beating Ecuador 1-0 thanks to a goal in the second half. I'm saying this because host nations tend to overperform, so Qatar at least has to get one win in this tournament. And Qatar got that money, so you never know, the referee could be on payroll. Just kidding, unless. Anyways, next game we got England versus Iran. Now we know all about England. They're definitely one of the favorites to win the World Cup this year. This is obviously because they have such a good and talented roster. They're also the World Cup 2018 semi-finalists, losing to Croatia 2-1 in that game, and they're also the Euro finalists, where they lost to Italy on penalties for the trophy. Now, ever since that Euro final, England have not been impressive whatsoever. In fact, in the Nations League, they finished bottom of the group with countries like Italy and Germany, and are now relegated to League B for the next Nations League campaign. They also didn't even win a single game in this Nations League campaign. Just to add insult to injury, some of their most important players aren't in the World Cup roster because of injuries, or they just weren't included. For example, Reece James is missing the tournament with an injury, and so is their left back Ben Chilwell. Kyle Walker will also not be fit to play against Iran, as Southgate also left out Ivan Toney off the plane in Qatar. It's not looking good for England, I'm not gonna lie. Now for Iran, it's a little bit different. They had their old coach Carlos Queiroz from the somewhat successful 2018 World Cup campaign, where they got 4 points and barely missed out on round of 16 qualification. Additionally, in some recent friendlies against good opposition, they drew to Senegal 1-1 and also beat Uruguay 1-0, which is really impressive. Now Iran also have one of the most informed players in the world right now in Mehdi Taremi, the striker for Porto. He's bagging goals for fun in the Portuguese league and in the Champions League. His Iranian striker partner though, Sardar Esmoun, has just recovered from a recent injury. That probably means he's not going to have 100% sharpness in the match. That's why with both of these teams being so unpredictable, I'll have to go for another slight upset and say it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. England fans are going to be pissed about this one. Now moving on next, we got Senegal versus Netherlands. We gotta talk about the obvious first, which is Sadio Mane, who's going to sadly miss the World Cup and won't participate with Senegal. This is a huge loss for Senegal, and in my opinion, they're not even a dark horse to go far in the competition anymore. Sadio Mane is a huge player for Senegal and is easily their best player, so them not having him is really going to affect the team for sure. Also, on the other hand, Netherlands are a very strong team. They got great talents on their team like Van Dijk, Bergwijn, Memphis Depay, Frenkie de Jong, Gakpo, De Ligt, etc. Also, with their old good manager Van Gaal back in the scene, it's hard for me to say that Senegal is going to win this game. Therefore, I think the Netherlands will actually beat Senegal 3-0. A crazy thumping scoreline, I know. Now we're moving on to my country USA, who are taking on Wales. This game is going to be really important for both teams. I think whoever wins this game has a great chance to qualify for the round of 16. Anyways, let's talk about USA first. They're not coming into the World Cup with the best form after losing to Japan 2-0 in September, and they also drew 0-0 to Saudi Arabia. They also finished 3rd place in CONCACAF qualification behind Canada and Mexico, and automatically qualified through goal difference. This is, however, the most talented United States generation in terms of football. They got great players like Pulisic, McKennie, Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Brendan Erickson, Yunus Musa, Serginho Dest, Tim Weah, etc. The problem is, in my opinion, is the USA manager Greg Berhalter, who does not know how to utilize his talents properly, and in my opinion isn't just the best national team manager. Like bruh, he really brought Jordan Morris over Ricardo Pepi. The kid probably saved his job as well. Shameless activities from Berhalter. Anyways, moving on to Wales, they have not been in good form either. They got relegated from League A in the Nations League and didn't win a single game in their group. In fact, they lost almost every single game except getting one draw to Belgium in June. Now despite this, Wales have really good players, and one of them is obviously Gareth Bale. The problem with Bale is though, is he hasn't played many minutes with LAFC because of an injury he got within the last month. However, he did come on as a sub in the MLS Cup final and scored a last minute header to take the game to extra time for LAFC to then win the MLS Cup. So Bale is still clutch and obviously very good. So who's gonna win this game? Well, I am a bit biased and I'm also pretty hopeful, so I'm gonna say USA is beating Wales 2-1. Hopefully I did not jinx this game for us, knock on wood. Now let's go to the next game, which is between Argentina and Saudi Arabia. Now bruh, I'll just make this one quick for you guys. Argentina may have some injury problems like Lo Celso missing the competition, but they still destroyed UAE 5-0 in their friendly recently, and UAE in my opinion is only slightly worse than Saudi Arabia. Therefore, I think think Argentina will beat Saudi Arabia 3-0 and Messi and Di Maria will go off in this game. Next game, we got Denmark versus Tunisia, and I'll also make this one quick for you guys too. Denmark are the Euro semi-finalists and have a very good squad. They also beat the World Cup champions France twice in the Nations League. They're also my pick to be the dark horses of this World Cup, and I want my agenda to be correct. So for Tunisia, I like them, but I just don't think they're going to do well against Denmark. Therefore, I'm going to say Denmark is winning this game 3-1, and Andreas Cornelius will go crazy in this game. Okay, let's move on to Mexico versus Poland, which is going to be a great game. Both countries are low-key struggling right now though. And personally, this is Mexico's weakest World Cup squad that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I don't even know what Tata Martino, their head coach, is thinking. He literally left out the hottest Mexican striker right now, Santiago Jimenez, and one of their best talents, Diego Lainez, for some Liga MX bubs. What is Tata Martino doing for real? Now for Poland, they did end up beating Chile in a friendly thanks to a last-minute goal from Piatek, so that's good for them. But they did end up getting 3rd place in their Nations League group, and the only reason they survived relegation is because they had Wales in the group, so they beat them twice to stay in League A. Now Poland do have an X factor, and obviously that's one of the best strikers in the world, Robert Lewandowski. Compare that to Mexico, who have an injured Raul Jimenez and Funes Mori. So yeah, I'm sorry Mexico fans, but I think Poland is going to win this game 1-0. And of course, it's going to be Lewandowski scoring the goal. Next game is France versus Australia. Now, I really want to believe that the World Cup champions curse is real, and honestly, I think it is. But I think if France were to drop points in this group, it isn't going to be to Australia. Therefore, I think France is going to beat Australia 3-1, and Mbappe will get a brace in this game. Sorry, Australia fans. I hope y'all prove me wrong, though. Okay, next up is Morocco versus Croatia. Now, Morocco have changed a lot of things within their team. For starters, they got themselves a new manager, and this means that Hakim Ziyech is back in the picture. In fact, in a recent 3-0 win for Morocco against Georgia, Ziyech scored a goal from inside his own half. So yeah, it seems like Ziyech is in that mood for Morocco. Croatia, on the other hand, are also in good form, I'm not gonna lie. In a tough Nations League group with France and Denmark, they topped it by 1 point, which is really impressive. They also got a recent 1-0 win over Saudi Arabia, so that will help them boost their confidence. And of course, we gotta talk about their key player, Luka Modric. As long as Modric is good, I believe Croatia will do good. And guess what? I think Modric will do great in this World Cup. So this means I got Croatia beating Morocco 1-0. A Morocco upset is something I wouldn't mind seeing though. Now then, we got Germany versus Japan, and this match is about to be lit. Now we know Germany and Japan have a lot of history with each other, and I'm not talking about football. Japan, in my opinion, are one of the most underrated national teams right now. They have some really good and informed players in their team like Daichi Kamada and also Mitoma, to name a couple. And of course, their star boy Takefusa Kubo definitely wants to show out this tournament as well. Japan did end up getting a loss to Canada recently 2-1 thanks to a pretty BS last minute penalty, so that's pretty important to keep in the back of your mind. Now going over to Germany, they've been in pretty poor form overall. I know they beat Oman recently, but bruh, that's Oman. What did you expect? They finished 3rd place in their Nations League group behind Hungary and Italy. And fam, those are 2 countries that didn't even qualify for the World Cup. Germany do have some great informed players right now like Jamal Musiala and Leroy Sané, who I believe will both shine out at this tournament. Now, what do I think is going to happen in this game? Well, I'm going to have a slight upset or else the video is going to be boring. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Japan. It's going to be a shocking upset, but I can see it happening. Now next is Spain versus Costa Rica, and I'll speed this one up for you guys. Despite Costa Rica having the great Keylor Navas, I think Spain will absolutely dominate this game, and I actually have them winning this game 3-0. I don't really rate the Costa Rica national team anymore because all the good players are now old, so I got Spain winning this one pretty easily. Now another good game is next, which is going to be Belgium versus Canada. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about Belgium this tournament. This is their last chance to win something with their golden generation, but a lot of their best players aren't doing so well. Besides Kevin De Bruyne, who is absolutely on fire, and Trossard, who has been great with Brighton, everybody else has been respectfully mid. Lukaku has been injured, so his match sharpness might not be the best, and Hazard has rarely gotten playing time with Real Madrid. Carrasco isn't in his best form for Atletico Madrid. Alderweireld and Vertonghen are just old, and Courtois is having a poor season because he's barely keeping clean sheets for Real Madrid. Now this is the last chance for Belgium to win the World Cup in my opinion, so I hope they do well, but I don't know, man. It's not looking good for them. Now Canada, on the other hand, have been in spectacular form. Like I mentioned earlier, they beat a very good Japan side 2-1, and they also topped the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying with ease, in all honesty. They also have the best player in the region, Alphonso Davies, and also with the best striker in the region, Jonathan David. That's why I have an upset for this game, and I got Canada beating Belgium 2-1. What did I say? I'm bold. I like having upsets. Now next game we got Switzerland versus Cameroon, and I'll also make this one quick for you guys because respectfully this is a mid matchup. I think Cameroon is a dope national team, and I really like the new addition of Brentford's Mbeumo to play alongside Choupo-Moting, but in my opinion that's not going to be enough to take down Switzerland. That's why I got the Swiss winning this game 2-1, and Xhaka is going to have a masterclass game because he's been on fire this season. Moving on, we got Uruguay versus South Korea, which will be a pretty good game. Looking at Uruguay's roster, they have some some pretty good players as well. Somehow, Ronald Araujo is fit for the World Cup, which is pretty good, and they still have some solid players like Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani still on the roster, even though they're old now. With the old talent, they still have a lot of young talent, like Federico Valverde, for example, who has been killing it for Real Madrid this season. And of course, Uruguay have my striker, Darwin Núñez. Honestly, I'm expecting a big tournament from Núñez because he's been on fire for Liverpool recently. Now for South Korea, I'm just glad that Heung-min Son is fit for the tournament because if he wasn't, it would be a given that South Korea will finish bottom of the group. However, with Son being fit, it could be a different story for South Korea. However, specifically for this game, I don't think Heung-min Son is going to do much damage because I actually have the talented Uruguay beating South Korea 2-0 in this game. And Núñez is going to get a brace. Trust. Up next is Portugal versus Ghana, which I also think will be a pretty good game as well. Portugal, in my opinion, have one of the most talented squads on paper in this tournament. And they even proved it recently by beating Nigeria 4-0 without Cristiano Ronaldo. Thing is though, with Ronaldo's old age, I think he's low-key holding Portugal back from playing free-flowing football. Now this is no hate to Ronaldo because I still love him as a player, but I think him starting will hold Portugal back from their true potential of playing free-flowing football. They're still really good with Ronaldo though, obviously, so don't worry Ronaldo fans, don't come at me. Now going over to Ghana, they've added some really good new players to their roster. They got the likes of Iñaki Williams now with Salisu in the ranks as well, and of course Tariq Lamptey, who is a good right back. So Ghana have added some really good proven players in addition to their old Ghanaian players like Mohamed Kudus, who is on fire this season for Ajax. Now I think this game is going to be a pretty tough one to call, but I think Ronaldo is going to silence me and he's going to score a goal this game to make sure Portugal win this game 3-1. Last but not least, we got Brazil versus Serbia. Now Brazil are one of the most stacked teams at this World Cup and they're even ranked #1 in the FIFA rankings. And when Neymar in the best form of his life pretty much, I can see them going far, and I do see them going far to be honest. But I also had Brazil going far in the last World Cup as well, and they still ended up drawing their first game to Switzerland 1-1. Now Brazil will for sure top this group for me, but will they get 9 points? I don't know. Now before that, let's talk about Serbia, who are an underrated national team side. They got great players like Milinkovic-Savic and Mitrovic in their ranks, who is a proven striker. And of course, they got one of the hottest young strikers in the world right now, Vlahovic. So what do I think is going to happen in this game? Well, I have a slight upset, and even though Brazil's going to dominate this game, it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. And of course, the goal scorer for Serbia has to be Mitrovic. Anyways, let me know down in the comments whether you agree with my Matchday 1 predictions for this World Cup. I would love to know what you guys think. Real quick though, remember to subscribe to the channel and also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a video. Also leave a like, let's try reaching 300 likes for this one. So yeah, thanks for watching this video and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace!